14th, 2022 Troy City Council meeting. I don't see that Rabbi Alicia Harris from Congregation Shir Tikva is here this evening to do our invocation, so please rise for the invocation. Remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. Father, we give you thanks for this day and thanks for the many blessings you've given each and every one of us. I ask that you continue to bless us and be with us throughout this evening's meeting and through the rest of the night. Lord, we know that there are many different faith traditions, many different perspectives, many different wonderful types of people throughout the city of Troy. We ask that you continue to look over all of us and meet them where they are when necessary. Please be with those who are in need of your help and guidance, especially those who may be afraid or unable to ask. Know that as the weather turns colder, there are many who will be suffering. And we ask that you do all you can to protect our first responders, our police and firefighters, our emergency medical responders, as well as our DPW, also first responders. Lord, please be with us always. In his name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the November 14th, 2022 Troy City Council meeting. I'll call it officially to order and ask for the roll call. Ms. Dixon.
Mayor Baker.
Here.
Councilmember Abraham. Here. Councilmember Brooks.
Here.
Councilmember Chamberlain Krenga.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Erickson Galt. Here. Councilmember Hamilton.
Here.
Councilmember Hoderick.
Here.
All present this evening. This evening, as it's the organizational meeting after an election day, we have a little bit of housekeeping business to take care of first. First up is Section B, 2022 to 2023 City Council installation. A will be the appointment of a Mayor Pro Tem, and our rules of procedure for the City Council addresses the appointment of Mayor Pro Tem and has the rotation pre-selected, so there's no big surprises tonight, I don't think. So we do have a motion to appoint Councilmember Chamberlain Krenga as Mayor Pro Tem. Is there someone who would like to move that resolution? Mayor Pro Tem Erickson Galt.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move B2A, appointment of Mayor Pro Tem. Should I just read it or?
Sure.
Okay. Rules of procedure for the City Council addresses the appointment of Mayor Pro Tem as follows. 1, appointment of Mayor Pro Tem. The selection of Mayor Pro Tem shall rotate annually in the following order. Well, that's way too much. Let me go down. Resolved that the Troy City Council hereby appoints Councilmember Chamberlain Krenga to serve as Mayor Pro Tem for the City Council of the City of Troy for a term scheduled to expire at 7:30 p.m. on Monday, November 13th, 2023.
Support.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Erickson Galt, supported by Councilmember Hamilton, that we approve the appointment of Councilmember Chamberlain Krenga to serve as Mayor Pro Tem for the City Council of the City of Troy for a term scheduled to expire at 7:30 p.m. on Monday, November 13th, 2023. Any discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Mayor Baker.
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham.
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks.
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain Krenga.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Erickson Galt.
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick.
Yes.
Motion carries. At this time, City Clerk Dixon, will you please swear in Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Krenga as Mayor Pro Tem?
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Michigan, the Charter of the City of Troy, and that I will faithfully perform the duties of the office of Mayor Pro Tem in and for the City of Troy, County of Oakland, State of Michigan, according to the best of my ability, so help me God. Thank you.
Congratulations. All right. At this time, sure. Even though we just started, I'm going to take a 5-minute recess so we can make some switching, and anybody who doesn't want to stay for the whole meeting is free to go. We're in recess. welcome. Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Kranga. That's the easiest election you have ever, any of us ever have, because it's in the rotation. It's a good one, but it's good to have it. So always feels good though, nevertheless. So next up on the agenda is B, I guess? B. I don't see it too. All right, City Council Rules of Procedure, and that'll be introduced by our City Clerk, Aileen Dixon.
Thank you, Mayor. The only changes that were presented tonight for the rules of procedure is just correcting the rotation to put Councilmember Erickson Galt at the end of the rotation for Mayor Pro Tem. If there are any other changes, you can present them to us or wait till another meeting, I guess.
Turn up a little bit. If you're going to speak later, if it could be a little louder. It's just, I heard you, but it was hard.
The only changes that were presented in this rules of procedure is just correcting the rotation to have Councilmember Erickson Galt at the end of the rotation for Mayor Pro Tem.
Very good. Someone like to move that resolution? Or any questions, I suppose? Keeping in mind, we can always make amendments to these rules. So there are rules, but I don't think we have any tonight other than what was presented. I'll move it then. Resolve that Troy City Council hereby adopts the Troy City Council Rules of Procedure as amended, a copy of which shall be attached to the original minutes of this meeting.
Support.
Moved by the chair, supported by Councilmember Hoderick, that we approve the City Council Rules of Procedure as printed in the agenda packet and read into the record just now. Any discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Kranga?
Yes.
Councilmember Erickson Galt?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next up is Section C, City Council Annual Review of Chapter 14A, Elected and Appointed Persons Ethics Ordinance, which I believe this is the first time we've done this one, right, City Attorney Bloom?
Actually, Mayor, it's the second time because
Second?
you approved it just before.
Oh, you're right.
Just before your organizational meeting. But thank you for the opportunity to put this back on your agenda. It has been in effect for a little over a year. There have been a few questions that have been fielded, but obviously this is your ethics ordinance. And so if there are changes or if there are questions or concerns, I do know that at least one of you read it very, very diligently and saw that there were some typographical things that can be corrected. So I'd like to bring those back at a later date. But if there are other changes or if there are things that are not very clear, this is certainly an opportunity for council to point those out, and we're happy to bring the changes back to council at a later time. But this is something that is required. It is something that council members are required to review on an annual basis and then acknowledge. And then that will actually be available to all of the members. It's going to be advertised on the city's webpage as well.
We've all been presented our sheet to sign again tonight that we've affirmed and reviewed the ethics ordinance, which again, I'll state that very proud that this council has done that. And again, thank you for your work on providing that to us. And any questions for City Attorney Bloom? Someone like to move that resolution? Councilmember Abraham.
I'd like to move item B2C, City Council Annual Review of Chapter 14A, Elected and Appointed Persons Ethics Ordinance as printed.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Abraham, supported by Councilmember Hoderick, that we approve B2C City Council Annual Review of Chapter 14A, Elected and Appointed Persons Ethics Ordinance as printed in the agenda packet. Any discussion? Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Kranga.
Thank you, Mayor. So I actually had a question. I just missed getting my hand up in time.
Okay.
Is there a way procedurally for me to
You
still
can ask it now. We're in discussion. So go
Thank
ahead.
you. So I know part of it, what I've appreciated is that there's expectation that yearly we go through some sort of ethics training. And last year, the ICMA had a great training. It looks like, I presume all of us did it. I did it. It was great. And it was a series of different, beyond even ethics, but there was an ethics piece. Well, next year, wondering what does it look like annually? Maybe they don't offer that, or like what does it look like to find different kind of ethics trainings each year? Because I would presume we want something different. And I don't want to put that burden on you to always be providing something for us, but what might that look like each year?
City Attorney Bloom?
Again, we're happy to get input from city council. Certainly, city management and I will work together to make some recommendations for you. I do think it's not good to have the same training every year. It is good to have some variety, and I think that that is certainly in the plan.
Okay, no, that's helpful. And just one little, and this is, I guess, maybe a discussion point as well, is, part of ethics, part of us, our responsibility as fiduciaries is, to be non-biased. And one thing I've thought of is, and I think that does in some ways kind of connect to the ethics training, is I still would love, and it's just something we can continue to think about, is to somehow us individually on our own through ICMA or somewhere do some sort of implicit bias training, just to understand, because that is a part of being a fiduciary, is being aware of and seeking not to have any bias in any decision making. And if maybe there's a way to consider that, that could be a part of that in the future. That just might be a great opportunity for us.
I like that. I agree with that. We'll have to see how that relates specifically to ethics. I do see the correlation. I think you can make a good argument. Definitely, we should talk about that
For sure.
and figure out a good way to do that. Certainly individually, but or as a group, whatever makes the most sense. But Councilmember Hoderick, I saw you were.
I was just, if you're done with
Yeah. I can talk anytime I want. So go ahead.
some time has passed since we, as an elected body and as a community, really took a time out to focus on the subject of ethics and integrity. And these two items on our agenda can seem, each November they come up and they can seem a little bit routine, almost rote. But I think you can tell from the dialogue we're having at the table that there's a new code that's amongst us to keep ourselves fresh and have our muscle memory about ethics constantly honed. It's easy for any organization, frankly, to end out on a slippery slope, and the key is to not get on that slope at all, to try to stay away from it. So these items, the one that we all just unanimously voted yes for, and this one that I'll be supporting, they're anything but just procedural and administrative. They are our code. Our appointed officials and city staff within their professional organizations, and as part of their roles, they have a code that is consistent and parallels this. And we've done a really intentional effort as an elected body that reports to the residents of the community to make ours equally intentional. And the words that are in these two items that we're voting on reflect that. I would encourage all our fellow residents, when these are online, they are online, we can provide links on our social media, the city maybe can too, to also look them over and read them, and maybe in your own mind sign on to them as you work with us and maybe ask us to do things and try to encourage certain actions, that you understand the code with us. That makes our whole community, that becomes a part of the community DNA, and that's something you can take if you're volunteering into a PTO, your homeowners association, your church. Just this sense that we strive as individuals within our community to really embrace ethical integrity standards. And it is something, trust us from experience, that you can lose sight of, that you can take it for granted when it's in your organization and then end out on the slippery slope. So we've learned a lot here. This is now our second year with this particular item. It guides us, but it can not only just guide us as an elected body, but our entire community to work in this way. And I would just encourage folks to, over this past week, I sat on our code on these two items and kind of read them again and forced myself to read them as if I was seeing them for the first time, or as if I was a resident who wasn't aware of what the council works toward. You really can't put into words everything to prevent a problem. Part of it is just the human beings that you elect, you appoint, that you work with. We have to hold ourselves accountable and even look at the nuance of these sentences and what's between the lines. And I don't want to lose sight of the lessons we learned, because we learned them. It was a difficult era. I don't want to dwell in that, but I also don't want to lose sight of everything we learned. So with that, I just wanted to voice that I'll be supporting it, and I look forward to any additional training that we can have as a body. And I know all 7 of us are committed to this. There's newer members that ran and were elected to step into the fresh ethics and integrity. Those of us with some experience from that era, and will continue to collaborate in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hoderick. Very, very good points as well. Additional discussion? I'm not going to add anything to what Councilmember Hoderick just said, but I did have a thought. I'm wondering, this last year our ethics training kind of came in the form of the individual self-study ICMA. Maybe this year it should be a group effort. Maybe some kind of alternating might be a good way, because I think there's a lot of value, certainly in the individual study, but also having us come together in that setting sometimes can be very valuable as well. Just brainstorming. So. All right, the vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Abraham?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Crainga?
Yes.
Councilmember Erickson Galt?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes. Motion carries. Next up is B2D, Cooperative Purchasing Programs Resolution. That'll be introduced by our CFO, Rob Melzik.
Thank you, Council. So this is our annual Cooperative Purchasing Program Resolution before you tonight, and it includes the 7 same programs that we've had in the past. It also is the same threshold, the $10,000 bid waiver that we've had in the past. And again, we use this when it is in the best interest of the city, and I hope that you'll pass this resolution as printed in your packet.
Thank you, Rob. Any questions? Councilmember Hamilton, you want to move this resolution?
I'll move B2D, Cooperative Purchasing Programs Resolution as printed in the agenda packet.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Hamilton, supported by Councilmember Erickson Galt, that we approve B2D, Cooperative Purchasing Programs Resolution as printed in the agenda packet. Any discussion? I know you're passionate about it, David. Did you want to? Just kidding. The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Crainga?
Yes.
Councilmember Erickson Galt?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Council.
Thanks, Rob. That concludes our, what are these called? Our organizational city council installation section. Next up is certificates of recognition and special presentations, of which we have none. There are no carryover items, so we move on to public hearings. E1 is the adoption of an amended Brownfield Redevelopment Plan number 10 for Harrison Poolside Troy Development, parcel number 20-29-326-031 off of Stutz Drive. And I see Mark Adams coming forward to the presentation, our economic development manager or specialist. I always mix them up. I say both.
Manager.
Manager. I like specialist too some days, so all right, but will you be manager tonight?
Well,
Welcome.
good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I'm excited to bring back in front of you the Brownfield Plan 10 Harrison Poolside project off of Stutz Drive, right off of Maple. It's an exciting project for about 73 new townhomes. It's about a $24 million project. It's about 100 construction jobs and about 8 permanent jobs. This is a project that the development team has been working on along with the consultant for a while now under Mark's direction with Meg. It's been a project that we are, again, very excited about. And we have a few slides that we want to present to you to give you a little better understanding and hopefully get this amended Brownfield plan approved tonight. So with that, I would like to bring up the consultant, Jeannie Dockery, to discuss it a little further and get the adoption of this exciting project for Troy.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Of course, thank you. Can I move this up?
Oh, please, yeah.
All right, good morning, or good afternoon, evening. I don't know what time it is.
Yeah, I don't know. Hi, it's fine. Yeah, how about that?
As Mark said, my name is Jenny Doherty. I'm with PM Environmental and representing the developer. Kevin Wilson is also here with me tonight, so if you have any questions, I'm sure he can step in as well. Hopefully this goes well. So this is the Harrison Poolside project on Stutz Drive, as he mentioned. Oh, no. Click. I don't know.
Indicate when you want me to change
All right, go ahead. I'm so sorry. I've outlined the site there in red for you. Like I said, it's north of Stutz Drive, so it's kind of between Somerset to the north, with the apartments located up there, and then the Motor Mall area just to the south. The site itself is about 3.67 acres, and also, as Mark said, it's about, oh, thank you. It's about a $24 million investment, 100 construction jobs, and 8 permanent jobs. This site, as you can see, is currently undeveloped, and that's part of the issue with the site. Between the 1940s and about 1980, regional landfilling occurred on the property. So our teams have been out there often and frequently. We've done soil borings, soil gas testing. We've recently started doing some of the test pitting to see and check the water as well. But right now our primary concerns are chlorinated solvents on the site, as well as mercury that exceed EGLE, Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, the Michigan Department. Exceedance is there for both the soils and, as of most recently, some groundwater impacts as well that we need to deal with. Go ahead, please. Thank you. Let me make sure that's the right one. Okay, yes. Also, as Mark mentioned, you have the site layout there. Everything has been through site plan approval and that sort of thing. 73 townhome apartment units across 9 buildings. There's also the clubhouse and the pool kind of in the top right corner there. Each of the units has a garage at ground level, balconies on the 2nd floor, and then there's also the rooftop terrace on the 3rd floor as well. Yeah, go ahead to the next one, please. And this is just one of the renderings that we have. This is not actually the site. The only difference between this image and the actual is the garage door would be on this elevation. But we wanted to provide a quick visual for everybody here to see what the finished product is expected to look like. And there you have it. Next, please. So really, we're here because of the brownfield conditions on the site. The brownfield plan, as mentioned, is an amendment. We were here in November 2018, and that was the initial approval of that brownfield plan. The site plan changed since then. COVID happened, cost increase, and naturally so have the costs associated with the brownfield plan. For the majority of the project, none of the individual activities themselves have changed, but we are looking at just changes across the budget of what we're expecting the additional cost of this development to be compared to a greenfield site. You know, probably not in Troy because there's a lot of development here, but maybe, you know, off where I grew up in the cornfields. So the costs that we've included are the environmental assessments and due care planning. The big thing that we're looking at on this property is vapor mitigation. So we have to install something below the building to make sure that those concentrations that are in the soil and groundwater are not a hazard to anybody who lives there, anybody who visits there, who works there, et cetera. And the other big portion of this is because it's a regional landfill, or was formerly, there's a lot of grade changes. And so there's a lot of soil that is contaminated that has to come off the site. And same thing with groundwater. The other impact is that that makes the ground a little bit unstable. So as they're putting in the building foundations and we're dealing with settlement and those civil engineering type of activities, a standard foundation isn't going to cut it here. So we're looking at doing a geopier system to support the buildings and making sure that those are also safe and stable to be in. An important thing to note on that is the cost of a standard foundation is reduced from that foundation cost that is being requested. And also, you know, we've gone through the engineering and the assessments to make sure that, you know, that's the most cost-effective way, and then we're not requesting anything more than the cheapest option, not the cheapest option, but the best option and the most cost-effective one. And then the other ones that you can see up there, obviously oversight sampling reporting, that just ensures that everything is done the way it's supposed to be done. Eagle gets their sign off on it as well. Some of the limited demolition on the site, and then contingency interest, that sort of thing. So total there is around $5 million. We're looking at a 15-year reimbursement for this amended plan. Like I said, the cost is up a little bit from the previous plan, but because the site plan is different, we're expecting a higher tax revenue from it, and so the payback to the developer is actually reduced compared to the previous. I believe that's all. There might be a thank you slide or something in there too, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
Thank you. Any questions, Councilmember Hamilton?
Thank you, Mayor.
Sure.
Thank you for the information. When do you anticipate this project will be completed? Or at least people will be able to start moving into some of the townhomes?
Kevin, I believe it's a year, okay.
Just a year? Okay. That includes, obviously, with all the environmental work and everything, too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to add, I think within the plan, it has 2024, but as council know and the mayor knows, but maybe our residents, that's the whole purpose of the Brownfield Authority. When you have property or parcels with environmental concerns or any type of obsolescence, this program incentivizes a developer to come in and redevelop it. And it's great that we can work on sites such as this versus a greenfield site in order to bring development into the city of Troy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Kranga.
Thank you, Mayor. So I was going to ask a similar question. I know that brownfields is a tremendous amount of work in terms of all the remediation that has to happen. And up until now, you've done all, as we read through that extensive report, like all the testing. And so I was going to ask, are there ever hiccups where, you mentioned a couple of things will, take some time that it might take longer. Is this a typical kind of timeline in terms of, to do all the remediation and then be able to get these out and get people in these homes?
Yeah, I mean, we've been in talk with Eagle now for a long time, obviously. With the initial approval and the previous site plan, they had signed off on the former design of the vapor barrier system and had approved the work plan that coincides with this brownfield plan as well. So, we've been in touch with them, making sure that they're comfortable with everything as well. As soon as Kevin gives us a go-ahead and says he has permits from everybody at the city here, it's typical. I think to an outside eye, if you're not familiar, you probably wouldn't know much of a difference. Construction takes time, but the activities look very familiar. But what you do with that soil and that groundwater and how you handle it appropriately are very different and obviously have an increased cost.
And it sounds like this developer also has plenty of experience working with brownfields and
Yes, we've done many of theirs, yes.
Additional questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is a public hearing. I'll open the public hearing. I don't see that anybody has signed up to speak on E1 this public hearing this evening, but that doesn't prohibit any of you in the audience from saying your piece now, but it doesn't look like anybody's jumping up to do so. No? All right, well then I will close the public hearing and ask for it to be brought. Councilmember Hamilton.
I'll move E1, adoption of amended Brownfield redevelopment plan number 10 for Harrison Poolside Troy Development, parcel number 20-29-326-031 off of Stutz Drive, as printed in the agenda packet.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Hamilton, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Kranga, that we approve E1, adoption of amended Brownfield redevelopment plan number 10 for Harrison Poolside Troy Development, parcel number 20-29-326-031 off of Stutz Drive, as printed in the agenda packet. Discussion. I'll just say I happily approved this back in November of 2018 as a council member, and I'm looking forward to supporting it again tonight. I know this area of our city has a long history. It was the city dump for Birmingham for a number of years way back in the day. So it's nice to see this parcel being developed, and I think this is a great place to put townhomes. And they're going to be beautiful, and next to the Michigan Design Center. I mean, I think that's it's a win for everybody, right? So I'm happily going to support it this evening. The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Kranga.
Yes.
Councilmember Erickson Galt.
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick.
Yes.
Mayor Baker.
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham.
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. That concludes public hearings this evening. Next up is public comment for items on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. We have one person signed up this evening, Fabrice Schmielauskas. I probably butchered it, Fabrice, apologize in advance. But as a reminder, you have 3 minutes for public comment. When the light turns yellow, that means you have 1 minute left, and when the light turns red, your 3 minutes is up. It's good to see you again.
Good to
I
see
happened
you
to
again.
meet Fabrice on election day
I did.
at a polling precinct.
Not too long ago for the first time.
Very exciting. Yeah, there you go. Take it away, Fabrice.
So, first of all, thanks so much to Councilwoman Erickson Gull for serving as Mayor Pro Tem in the past year, and congrats to Rebecca. For becoming Mayor Pro Tem this year. You know, I've always admired your global perspective, which I think is essential in our city of immigrants, our diverse city, to really represent who we have here in Troy. And there's no bigger global challenge than climate change. And this is something that we all need to play our role in combating, starting here at home in Troy. So I was thrilled to get Rebecca's support in asking the school district the question, where is sustainability in the bond proposal that you're putting forward on the ballot this year? Along with several students, one of whom is here today. And following our efforts, sustainability became part of one of the 4 planks of the school bond proposal that was resoundingly passed by voters last week. And we had the first meeting of the Troy School District Sustainability Committee just recently. So we're moving forward in the district with the goal of reducing carbon emissions. As far as I know, we are pioneers in Oakland County and in Macomb County among the school districts in making a concerted effort to enhance sustainability in everything we do through use of renewable energy and improved energy efficiency and conservation. And so next up, city government. Can we follow the lead of the city of Royal Oak, of the county, of the state, each of which has put forward a sustainability action plan or is in the midst of putting one together right now? Can we seed a sustainability initiative here in the city and start thinking about measures we could take to put the city on a lower carbon emissions path than it is right now? It's our opportunity and our responsibility. Thanks.
Thank you, Fabrice. That concludes those who have signed up for public comment this evening for items on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. Now's an opportunity for City Council or City Administration to respond and reply to such public comment. Councilmember Hamilton.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the comment. Troy's master plan does have a lot of, has taken into account quite a bit, a lot of sustainability perspectives, and we're continuing to redesign our master plan, and I'll definitely keep that in mind. And exactly what you talked about is something I've wanted for years the city to focus on more, and I'll keep encouraging that. Is this weekend we're doing our annual advance, which is kind of like our goal setting meeting for the year and to begin the budget process, and it's something I definitely want to talk about there to make a priority, especially when we have a county and a neighboring community that's already doing the same thing. So, and I know there's a lot of investments coming in with the IRA, which was recently passed, that makes it really easy to upgrade your homes to sustainable solutions. So I'd like to look into ways we can help build on that. Thanks for the comment.
Thank you, Councilmember Hamilton. Councilmember Hoderick.
Thank you for your comments. You know, what was it, 15 years ago, I might need city staff to correct me, maybe even 20 now. The city of Troy was pretty leading edge in looking at the notion of environmentalism. We had a partnership with Lawrence Tech University, and maybe it was the Troy Chamber of Commerce. I'm remembering going into the archive here, so research me a bit, or come back to me when I've researched it, where we actually had a solar home, experimental solar home on property. You remember this. The engineer here could probably speak to it way more intelligently than I can. But there was that. We also participated, the first time I ever heard of a wind turbine. They were here on the city property, and it was part of a testing. Unfortunately, I don't think they were placed in the best place to catch the wind. But this was early. These were early efforts to stick our big toe into that, and we were a leading edge city. So if you're newer to the community or didn't realize that was going on, know that that has been part of the fabric of the thinking here. City councils preceding this one and staff members, some of the long-timers maybe are nodding at me. I hope I'm quoting this all correctly. And it has been captured in our master plan as something we want to do. Could we be doing it more intentionally? Do the opportunities from funding on a federal level and county level now enable us? Is there more energy that gets put behind it? Yes, we're in a sweet spot, but it's not a new subject to this city. And you probably have some folks who work here and are our day-to-day public servants who would be chomping at the bit to get back at that and do it in a more meaningful way than we even did it back then. But it has been part of the spirit here, and we do have strategy planning going on, a 5-year review of the master plan. We hear you and appreciate you bringing the fact that the community and our residents and our students are interested in this. That helps propel things to go forward, and I appreciate it.
Well put, Councilmember Hoderick. Thank you. We go City Manager Miller, and then I'll come back to you, Mayor Pro Tem.
I can wait, and
Mayor Pro
better to summarize where I'm coming from.
Perfect. Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Kranga.
Thank you, Mayor. Fabrice, thank you. We've had many of our conversations about this topic, and just to echo, although recognize Councilmember Hoderick knows much more of the history than I do, but as soon as I came to Troy, I was following some of the different initiatives. I believe mowing, you guys, that was before I was on council, made decisions to hire a mowing company that is more ecological. I know we have staff sitting out here who actually have lead knowledge around LEED certification and integrating those sustainability elements into our buildings. Whenever we make kind of decisions around that is part of the thinking. And also, on a lot of, we had a conversation, a memo, it was a year ago, on electric vehicles. It was just a memo of information of what potentially we could do in terms of providing charging stations. So I know it's on top of mind. I think from a strategic, because that's my background in strategy, is I think what would be helpful at some point, which is where I think we're going into this planning session called our Advance on Saturday, all-day planning session, open to the public as well. And I'm hoping that we can just surface this as a topic, but strategically what you need to do is kind of ideally have a document, have something that kind of is collating all of those different things that you've done. Because to move forward, you first of all have to do stock taking of what has been done to then think about. And I think often having some sort of committee or some body that owns it helps to be able to move that forward. So I just hope that, and it sounds like there is some energy that, we can bring this up at our Advance and talk more about what it means. But it's good to hear from the community. It's good to hear what you're thinking and what people would like to see as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Mark?
Thank you, Mayor. 3 quick comments. One, this past summer I did attend a South Oakland County Mayor's Association meeting at Royal Oak City Hall, their new City Hall, which I would recommend people go visit. It's pretty cool. But they presented their sustainability plan. They do have one staff person dedicated for that. And if you so desire, it's really easy for me just to go get a copy of the PDF of the plan and transmit it to you if you'd like. Finally, in our form of government, council manager form of government, you develop the policy, and if you want to explore this further, you just need to ask management and administration, and we'll do that for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's always something we should be thinking about and looking at. I wish we had $500 million to do some new stuff here, right? Like the school district has. It's a little different for us with what we're faced with. I'm always interested in getting more information. I'm sure there's easy consensus to get some more information. I don't know, we're at this, where we are in the schedule, I'm not eager to push for some massive reporting, frankly. But if there was perhaps at least a summary of some initiatives that we've done or where we could look at, maybe that would be something that we would add. I caution us in trying to add anything to the Advance at this point or too much of a heavy focus. I think the agenda is pretty baked. Doesn't mean it can't play a role in everything we discuss, but my understanding is we've got a lot of things to talk about. This is kind of an overarching concept, I think, but I don't know if we have the time to spend too much just specifically on this issue next weekend or this weekend. Maybe I'm wrong. Bob's ignoring me, so I don't know. But I'm not wrong. Good. Mark said I'm not wrong. But it should always be in our lobes when we're talking and thinking about these things. And I'm sure it can continue to play a role into the new year especially. But I think let's maybe start with just kind of a report of some sort.
Okay.
Consensus for that, just to kind of see where and keep the conversation going. Fabrice, again, nice meeting you. Nice seeing you twice and within about a week period. But like Councilmember Hoderick said, it's a good mix of, yes, there was a big focus back even 20 years ago, although things have changed dramatically over the past 20 years. Certainly as coming out of COVID and mixing things around, it's good to, again, bring new voices into the mix and to continue the conversations to move it forward in a responsible way. But appreciate you coming forward and getting us on the table for us to speak tonight. Thank you. That concludes City Council and City Administration response and reply to public comment for items on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. We have no postponed items this evening, so we'll move on to regular business. I1 is board and committee appointments. I do have some mayoral appointments that I had nominated last meeting. So first up, let me see for a second. I think I'm going to do them all in one motion just to move things along. So let me read a little bit. To the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, I move to appoint Stephen Gottlieb to the term expiring April 30th, 2025. To the Downtown Development Authority, I move the appointment of Ernest Reschke for the term expiring September 30, 2026. To the Global Troy Advisory Committee, I move the appointment of Sharanya Swaminathan as the student representative for the term expiring July 31st, 2023. Philippe Cecchini for the term expiring October 30th, 2023, and to the terms expiring October 30th, 2025, Mavita Burris, Edward Chezik, Daniela Nacheva, Carolina Noguez-Ortiz, and Yudong Zhu.
Support.
Moved by the chair, supported by Councilmember Brooks, that we approve the appointments of all of the board and committee members I just read into the record. Any discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Erickson Galt.
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick.
Yes.
Mayor Baker.
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham.
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Krenga.
Yes.
Motion carries. Quick comment on to Global Troy, we just appointed Philippe Cecchini. We do have a meeting this Wednesday that I mentioned to him when I nominated him. I don't know if it's possible to get him set up so he can attend that meeting, but he would like to if he could. City staff. No, that's short notice, but he's aware of it. Okay, that concludes mayoral appointments this evening. There are no city council appointments this evening, so we move on to I2, board and committee nominations. I do have a mayoral nomination this evening to the Local Development Finance Authority. I nominate Anthony Rosenblum for the term expiring July 30th, 2026, and that will be the Robin Beltramini seat, so she can stop getting the emails.
Support.
Moved by the chair, supported by Councilmember Hoderick, that we approve the nomination of Anthony Rosenblum to the Local Development Finance Authority for the term expiring June 30th, 2026. Any discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick.
Yes.
Mayor Baker.
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham.
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Krenga.
Yes.
Councilmember Erickson Galt.
Yes.
Motion carries. That concludes mayoral nominations this evening. Do you have any city council nominations this evening? All right. That concludes board and committee nominations this evening for mayor and council. Next up is I3, a request for closed session. All move be it resolved that Troy City Council shall meet in closed session as permitted by MCL 15.267E, Adam v. Troy, and DOJ versus Troy, MCL 15.267H, MCL 15.243G, and Y as printed in the agenda packet.
Support.
Moved by the chair, supported by Councilmember Abraham, that we approve I3, the request for closed session, as read into the record and printed in the agenda packet. Any discussion? Vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Hoderick.
Yes.
Mayor Baker.
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham.
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Krenga.
Yes.
Councilmember Erickson Galt.
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Yes.
Motion carries. We will continue our public portion of the meeting here and then recess into closed session and eventually adjourn from there at the conclusion of this meeting. Next up is I4, bid waiver, professional services, police department testing services, and that'll be introduced by our Chief of Police, Frank Nastasi. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Requesting a bid waiver for professional testing for our sergeants and lieutenants. The police department anticipates retirement of numerous command members over the next several years, so we need a test in place. We've been using EMCO since 1990, and they've been doing our promotional and also entry-level testing for the police department, and they've been providing excellent service. They're able to customize their tests to meet our needs and requirements and also comply fully with Act 78 Commission requirements. EMCO provides both promotional and entry-level testing for numerous police departments around the area and the state, and is a local company based here in Troy, right off of Big Beaver Road. I'm requesting waiving the bid process and approving the contract with EMCO Incorporated to provide police promotional testing services, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions? Councilmember Hamilton?
Hi, Chief.
Hi.
Good to see you. This is kind of a tangent, but seeing how you're talking about command staff that is retiring in the upcoming years, how are we doing on hiring our open positions? And as our planning meeting's coming up this Saturday, is there anything we can do or start budgeting for to help improve that process? I know everyone in the country still is struggling with hiring new workers with the very tight job market. And how's that going, and how do you feel, and what can we do to help?
It's actually going much better because recently we've had that incentive package for new hires, and it's been fantastic. So we're doing much, much better on that. We were keeping our field training officers busy with new recruits, and so far they've been doing very, very well, fantastic, to serve the community, very professional. So I will, though, any good chief will think of something by Saturday to come up with, though.
All right, I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Any other questions? Someone like to move the resolution? Council member, I can't tell who's, Abraham or Brooks?
Oh.
Were you up? I couldn't tell. Either one of you, go ahead.
Oh.
Oh, no, Abraham, okay, sorry.
I was saying, yeah.
I got it. I'll move I-4 bid waiver professional services, police department testing services as printed.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Abraham, supported by Councilmember Brooks, that we approve I-4 bid waiver professional services, police department testing services as printed in the agenda packet. Any discussion? Councilmember Abraham.
For our residents that are looking at the agenda packet, you'll see a number of bid waivers today. So I wanted to comment on this one in particular because bid waivers are exceptions to the rule, and I don't want this to just be passed without comment, because Troy has been known as one of the safest cities in Michigan for decades, and that's not by accident. It starts with recruiting the right talent, the right personalities, the right fit for this city, for this community, and that's just the first step. The training, the reinforcement, the community engagement, these are all pieces to the puzzle of making our city so safe. And so when I look at a bid waiver for professional services, it's absolutely crucial that we find the right people. And EMCO clearly has had a record of finding the right people for the past 30 years. And so it would be remiss of me to do anything other than vote yes for this bid waiver. We don't want to change things when clearly there's a track record of getting excellent employees and having an excellent police department. So I will absolutely be supporting this effort.
Thank you, Councilmember Abraham. Appreciate your comments, especially as it relates to the bid waiver, because there are a few tonight, and it's an important piece. But more importantly, the support for our police department and what it means for our community, and how many pieces go into that puzzle to make it work. So thank you for that. Additional discussion? All right, the vote, Ms. Dixon?
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Crainga?
Yes.
Councilmember Erickson Galt?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next up is I-5, bid waiver, design build outdoor ice skating amenity. That'll be introduced by Kurt Bovenseep, our Public Works Director.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Before you tonight is a request for a bid waiver for a design build of the actual ice skating cooling portion of the pavilion project. But I like always to take the opportunity to update you where we're at with the project. So put up a couple slides. We did recently go to the Planning Commission and seek preliminary site plan approval. We did gain that, so exciting news. They were also very excited about the project. Next slide, please, Dave. So here's an update kind of schematic of it. Not a whole lot has changed from the original design since I've last shown you. We are working with Eagle, the extension of the culvert for the drop-off area, and then although it does look like a pedestrian bridge towards the bottom or the south end of the project, that is actually a culvert to look like a bridge. We're in discussion with Eagle on how to kind of fast track that. So some renderings. These may look familiar, but these do actually have the updated finishes that we choose. We're in the detailed design portion of the program, so you can see in the upper right-hand corner the fire pit. We're actually looking at having custom fire pits built through discussion and talking with some other people, the Recreation Department, that have some experience working in communities with fire pits. We're taking those concerns into consideration. The natural seat walls, again, around the fire pit. Next slide, please. And these are actually, this rendering is fairly close to the colors you're going to see at the final product. So you see those stones, the natural facade, all of those have been selected. So we're working towards actually putting the construction documents together to be able to bid this out come February. So today, where we're at with the proposal in front of you for the bid waiver is we were in discussion with several different manufacturers and companies that do these outdoor ice skating arenas. We were very pleased with this particular company, iServe. They are a local company where most of the other ones were national companies. This is a local company that does a lot of Michigan universities. In fact, installs and maintains the Troy Sports Center, which I think is the Buffalo Wild Wings arena now. So very, very local, knows their stuff. This is also, we decided to do an ammonia-based system, a little bit more sustainable than your Freon system. Freon does change over time. They've changed in that you would have to change compressors as they change the concentrations and types of Freon. So ammonia has been around for a long time. It gives us a little bit cooler temperatures so we can operate in warmer temperatures so the ice actually gets a little bit cooler. The refrigeration gets colder. So that's all good news. So as promised or as indicated, we're really striving for this fall or early winter 2023 to have this project done. So we're really fast tracking this. We could have gone to a design and hired a company to design the ice rink amenity and then bid that portion out for construction. However, this particular company, because of the system we're speccing and because of its location to Troy, is likely would have done both either way. We have vetted this company. This is a very good company, and we're confident they'll perform well. So we're doing it is unique. We typically don't do design build contracts, but this company is offering a service to be able to design. This way they can procure the equipment now, because we do have 32-week lead time on some of this equipment. So once this contract is assigned, they'll start the procurement and design based on that procurement. So we would likely be delayed past fall of 2023 if we didn't use this design build option. So excited to answer any questions. Exciting project. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, Kurt. Any questions? Mayor Pro Tem, I'm almost saying Erickson Dahl. Chamberlain Kranga.
Got it.
I'll get it. I'll get it. Give me a meeting or two.
Doing great. Two quick questions. So one, it looks like you consulted with Dennis Bostic, who owns the Troy Sports Center. It sounds like he gave glowing recommendations for going with this local Michigan company. That's right.
Yes, that is correct.
And that's great. That's great. We reached out to a local business owner that also uses this sort of process. Another thing, it does not relate to the ice, but I got a question this weekend from a resident asking if any portion of this project will have sort of a stage. Is any part of the pavilion able to be used to sort of have events at all?
Well, the pavilion can be used for events, but it's not going to be able to host an event that would require a stage. The original project, when we started this, had a separate band shell, if you will, in the
closer to where the open space is now that's currently constructed. So this won't be able to support that type of venue. Hopefully, again, having a larger picture, designing this to be able to be continuously built upon, we could still support that band shell further into the park.
Question. I ask that question a lot myself. And there's people in the community who are very interested in potentially partnering with us on that kind of stage. That won't be in this phase. But I do have a question about the pavilion. Do we have a concept of how many people can fit in this pavilion?
Depending on the setup, you can fit about 150 if, again, using all of the...
Seated or is that standing?
That's seated.
Okay.
So if you use all the seating walls, which are actually also going to double as storage cubbies for shoes when ice skating and things like that, you could probably fit close to 200 people if standing and seated in combination.
Okay.
Yeah, the pictures, it's deceiving because when you look at the pavilion, the overhang, the roof of the pavilion actually goes a lot further out than the enclosed area where the concession area is and where the rental space is. So the pavilion is larger than, even square footage wise, I don't think these images do it justice.
Is it hard for you guys to see this screen too? Sorry, it seems difficult. Sorry. It's easier for me to see on these tonight, but thank you, Kurt. I'm sorry. Any additional questions? All right, someone would like to move the resolution. Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Kranga.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move I-5, bid waiver, design, build, outdoor ice skating amenity, as printed in the agenda packet.
Support. Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Kranga, supported by Councilmember Hamilton, that we approve I-5 bid waiver, design, build, outdoor ice skating amenity as printed in the agenda packet. Any discussion? I'm excited about this project. Let me know when I can see it like actually happening. That's where I'm now. I can't believe it's going to happen, but I'm excited that it is, and this is a big step in that process. So I appreciate you bringing this to us tonight and understand the rarity of doing a bid waiver and something like this, but also understand the amount of research and vetting that went into this company and how it's best for the process and in the best interest of the city to move forward in this direction. So happy to support. Councilmember Hoderick.
I'm happy to support this too, partly because this is a discussion that has meandered through this community. Again, I'm sorry, I'm the oldster. I'm trying to share institutional knowledge. This is not a new idea in this community. This is something that people who were really engaged in looking at the future of the city and really embracing the Civic Center that have long talked about and dreamed of. So as I look at you, Mr. Bovenseep, coming up to, I know you've lived that and seen it over the years. So I think if you're just now becoming engaged or paying attention to things, you could have a judgment or a misunderstanding that we are fast-tracking some sort of project that came out of thin air a year or two ago. That's not the case. There's been people here thinking about this and pondering this for years and years and years and years, and no one thought it could happen. So this is an exciting milestone moment. Again, I think a bid waiver makes sense so that we can proceed with the project, get this done in a way that people have anticipated for a long, long time.
Yes. Thank you. The vote, Ms. Dixon?
Councilmember Abraham?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Kranga?
Yes.
Councilmember Erickson Galt?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes. Motion carries. Next up is I-6, Evergreen Farmington Sanitary Drainage District Correction Action Plan Phase 2 Project, prepayment and budget amendment. And there is a late submittal item on this for the table where it looks like the word modify was changed to notify, as it should have been. So just as it's not what's in the agenda packet, it's the late submittal. And Director Bovenseep is still here.
Thank you again. Yeah, not quite as exciting, but as important. There are 3 sanitary drainage districts in the city of Troy, the Evergreen Farmington being one. The Evergreen Farmington is actually ran by the Water Resource Commission for Oakland County, and we discharge our sewage into that system. So with that, we do pay the Water Resource Commission of Oakland County for that discharge. This particular is the smallest district in the city of Troy outside of our combination system, which is why our proportionate share is only about 3% of the total drainage district. Water Resource Commission has made several improvements to this district in the past 15 years, and they continue to make improvements so we don't have SSOs, sanitary sewer overflows. That's the end goal. Is so when we do have big events, we're not backing up basements. We don't have to discharge sanitary sewer other than in the mains. Recognizing that this project was going to cost a lot of money, the Water Resource Commission about 2 years ago, I believe, started down the road to make this its own drainage district. What that does is that provides opportunities where the county can bond out projects and other communities can participate in that bonding. That's what was offered to the city of Troy. About 2 years ago, we did have about $4 million budgeted for this project. We've been aware of this project for quite some time. Last year, coincidentally, they said we found a new way, it's going to be cheaper, so we reduced the budget. Well, now they're back at $127 million total project. Again, our proportionate share is just over 3%. Fortunately, the Water and Sewer Division has really never bonded out for these projects because we became great fiduciaries. We've saved for these types of projects, and this is just for that reason. So the sewer fund does have the available funds to be able to prepay this project to the county. So we're recommending that we not bond this out, saving us all the interest payments, and pay this in full to the county. With that, it will take some budget reappropriation. As I mentioned, it was spread out over 2 years, and it will take a budget amendment to fulfill that just over $4 million obligation to the county.
Thank you, Kurt. Any questions? Probably not a ribbon cutting for this one like the previous one, but someone like to move the resolution? Councilmember Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to move I-6, Evergreen Farmington Sanitary Drainage District Correction Action Plan, Phase 2 Project, Prepayment and Budget Amendment, including the late submittal as printed.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Brooks, supported by Councilmember Abraham, that we approve I-6, Evergreen Farmington Sanitary Drainage District Correction Action Plan Phase 2 Project, Prepayment and Budget Amendment, as printed in the agenda packet and amended by the late submittal. Any discussion? A vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Craig?
Yes.
Councilmember Erickson Gall?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next up is I-7, a bid waiver, Valtier SMT trailer mounted attenuator, and it'll be introduced by Public Works Director Kurt Bovensiedt.
Thank you again. An attenuator is used when we're working in traffic where we don't close the entire road, where we allow traffic to pass around. Probably most familiar with pothole patching when we're out on major roads. It's a moving work zone, if you will. So these attenuators provide crash cushion in the event that someone were to divert out of the lane of traffic and hit something. This not only protects the workers in the road, this also protects the driver, because it is not only cushioned to be able to lessen the impact towards the workers, it's lessen the impact of the actual vehicle making the strike. Although this is titled a bid waiver, it has been bid out by the Michigan Department of Transportation. They do recommend this. Unfortunately, it's not part of a purchase cooperative, but MDOT has requested that this manufacturer extend pricing to other local units of government, and Troy is seeking to take advantage of that extended pricing.
Thank you, Kurt. Any questions? Someone like to move this resolution? Councilmember Erickson Gall.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move I-7 bid waiver, Valtier SMT trailer mounted attenuator as printed in the agenda.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Erickson Galt, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Kranga, that we approve I-7 bid waiver Valtier SMT trailer mounted attenuator as printed in the agenda packet. Any discussion? Vote, Ms. Dixon.
Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Craig?
Yes.
Councilmember Erickson Gall?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next up is I-8, Budget Amendment and Standard Purchasing Resolution 4, Sourcewell Purchasing Cooperative, Server Replacements, and Microsoft Windows Server 2022 Licensing, and that'll be introduced by our Information Technology Director, Alex Block. Hi, Alex.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, City Council. Before you, we bring a quote to purchase a replacement of two of our main virtualization host servers used here at City Hall, along with operating system licensing to update all the servers within the city to Microsoft 2022. The two Hewlett-Packard servers that we are going to replace were purchased in 2016. Which is right within our preferred replacement time frame of 7 years. The two new replacement servers will host approximately 30 virtualized servers, which contain some of our most critical applications, including our city's SQL Server environment, our finance, building, assessing, and GIS applications. The operating systems will update the entirety of the city's virtualized server environment, which would contain approximately 70 virtualized servers. Moving us from Microsoft Server 2016 to Microsoft Server 2022. In addition to staying current with technology and improvements and patches, Windows Server 2022 provides us with several advancements in security that are not currently available to us within our current server environment. The funding for these purchases have been budgeted in our current funding for our IT capital fund, but there is a budget shortfall in the IT capital fund for these items in the amount of $5,629.40, which we're asking for a budget amendment for.
Thank you, Alex. Any questions from council? Someone like to move the resolution? Councilmember Hoderick.
Thank you, Mayor. I will move I-8, Budget Amendment and Standard Purchasing Resolution 4, Sourcewell Purchasing Cooperative, Server Replacements, and Microsoft Windows Server 2022 Licensing, as printed in the agenda packet.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Hoderick, supported by Councilmember Brooks, that we approve I-8, Budget Amendment and Standard Purchasing Resolution 4, Sourcewell Purchasing Cooperative, Server Replacements, and Microsoft Windows Server 2022 Licensing as printed in the agenda packet. Any discussion? Councilmember Hoderick.
Just to bookend Councilwoman Abraham, who started on the first item in this list of bid waivers, this is the final one. And for folks just watching who don't realize what the staff provides us prior to the council meeting, we do have detailed memos. They're from multiple people. There's a single presenter that comes to us at the council meeting, but we can see that our chief financial officer is involved, subject matter experts sometimes behind the scenes, the purchasing manager. So as we're making, I know there's at least one person out here who is watching and taking in how we do our business, so she's smiling at me. As we take this in, it isn't just based on someone coming up for a few moments. We have studied, sometimes we've studied it prior in budget study sessions leading into this fiscal year. The details are provided to us, and we don't do these amendments, and staff does not come to us with amendments capriciously or easily. And so because they are happening more often these days as things are more expensive and are costing more, we are studying them, we are provided details, and they're given all due consideration. So I will be supporting this amendment.
Thank you, Councilmember Hoderick. Anything additional? The vote, Ms. Dixon?
Councilmember Erickson Galt?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Krenga?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next up is I-9, 2023 City Council meeting schedule. That'll be introduced by Robert J. Bruner, Assistant City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When last City Council met, we had proposed a schedule for calendar year 2023. There was a couple conflicts with vacation plans, I think, and so we changed a couple of dates and bringing the calendar back for you for your consideration.
Thank you. Any questions? Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Craig?
Thank you, Mayor. I just realized this, and I just realized it after you asked this, but I may have a potential conflict on May 22nd. So I just put it out there. If there is any possibility to move that meeting to I know the week after is Memorial Day, so you don't want to move it there. There was a way to move it up that would create 2 back-to-back meetings. But if not, I'll find a way to work it out. So happy to run with the schedule if need be.
Looking at the calendar, looking at the schedule. Those May meetings are important because if we have to pass the budget in May, and if we don't pass it on the first one, we have the second shot, right?
Correct. And I forget the charter requirement of the exact date. I think it's before the third.
Before the
Third Monday. We have to approve it by the third Monday.
Yeah, so there's 5 Mondays in May 2023, the 1st, the 8th, the 15th. So the 15th is the last day for City Council to adopt the budget. The way things are proposed now, that second meeting, May 22nd, is too late to adopt the budget. So either it will be adopted on May 8th or City Council would need to schedule a special meeting before the 22nd. So there is, like I said, there's 5 Mondays. It's really up to City Council to.
My question or potential concern, and I'm all for trying to make it work, is that would, if we moved that one, then it's 4 weeks until the next one, and that, right? I mean, because June 12th is 4 Mondays after May 15th, so I'm a little hesitant to have that long of a gap. Seems like 3 weeks usually is about as long as we go in between meetings generally. So I don't know. I'm understanding that where we're at, but I'm not thrilled about putting 4 weeks from meeting to meeting. Maybe, I don't know. Anyone else?
Keep in mind, you may amend the schedule later if necessary.
That's true. So I'll come back to you. Councilmember Erickson Galt?
Yes. While I also agree that we should try to find a time that everybody's available, the challenge that I face and possibly other people here is we have a rule against looking at our electronic devices. In order for me to see
Right.
what other dates would work for me, that would require me to look at my electronic device. And so I can't tell you right here and now. I checked all of these dates this weekend to make sure they all work for me, and they did. So for me to say, oh, sure, let's move it to a different date, is going to be a challenge because then I may find that I have a conflict that I was. So I have no idea what I'm doing in May right now, other than these meetings.
Mayor Pro Tem?
May I just make this, let's go with this schedule, and I'll make it work. So
Okay.
let's make it easy.
We can amend it later if we have to.
All right, I'll move then I-9 2023 City Council meeting schedule as printed in the agenda packet. Support. Moved by the chair, supported by Councilmember Hamilton, that we approve I-9 2023 City Council meeting schedule as printed in the agenda packet. Any discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Craig?
Yes.
Councilmember Erickson Galt?
Yes.
Motion carries. That concludes regular business this evening. Next up is the consent agenda. Does anybody have any item they'd like to pull from the consent agenda for further discussion? Councilmember Abraham?
I'd like to move all items on the consent agenda as printed.
Support.
Moved by the chair, Councilmember Abraham and supported by Councilmember Brooks that we approve all items on the consent agenda as printed in the agenda packet. Any discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Craig?
Yes.
Councilmember Erickson Galt?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Motion carries. If you're here this evening for an item on the consent agenda, all have been approved. Next up is memorandums and future council agenda items. K2 is a memorandum K2A, proposed amendments to Troy City Code, Chapter 3, Administrative Service, and Chapter 93, Fire Prevention. There's a good memo in there for us to review. Next up, I don't see anyone has signed up for public comment for items not on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses, so no need for reply. We have no council referrals this evening, so we'll move on to reports. Any comments on the reports this evening? I think this late submittal is also one of the reports.
That is a
correct?
report, yes.
Okay. It doesn't have a O2 letter, so I'm not sure what it is, but there
It
is
is a report.
there is a late submittal report as well from the city clerk. All right, seeing no discussion on the reports, we will move on to council comments. Councilmember Hamilton is ready to go.
Just wanted to thank Clerk Dixon and her whole team on another extremely successful, very high turnout election. First major general election with the new voting precincts in place. I hadn't heard from anyone that they had any difficulties, and everything seemed to run really smooth. I don't know if you want to speak on the election and how it went. And I know with Proposal 2 that passed, there's a lot of election changes coming up soon, so we got a lot to do in the next year.
Those changes are in that report that was a late submittal, so that's a good place for the public to look. It's on the website. City Clerk Dixon.
Thank you. So specifically regarding the new voting precinct, I want to give a huge shout out to the DPW, especially facilities and the sign shop. They did a lot of work to make sure that we had plenty of signs at every location, letting people know that their precinct had moved, or that, if there was a different door they were supposed to go into. We had two precincts that have two polling locations that have 3 precincts in them. We put signs out letting people know there were 3 lines, and I'm happy to say that I did not receive any complaints about people unable to find their location. They may have questioned it, if they got there, but it didn't rise to the point where they had to email me and tell me about it. So I take that as a victory that we got everything out there. And I heard a lot of comments from inspectors that if there was a voter in line who didn't know where their precinct was, the voter behind them said, we sent postcards out. Like, we got a postcard saying that our new precinct was, where our new precinct was. So we did a lot of outreach for that, and the sign shop had a lot to do with that, and the facilities, or the DPW team that does all of our deliveries. And then regarding Prop 2, there's a lot of changes that are coming for elections. We will make sure that everyone knows what's going to happen. We take communication very seriously, so there will be lots of communicating with our voters and with council, of course, regarding any changes that are going to take place, especially a lot of those changes don't take place until 2024, but we're already thinking of what we're going to be doing to get ready for that, and we'll keep everybody apprised of it.
Thank you, City Clerk. And thank you, Councilmember Hamilton. Did you have additional?
So like the early voting part, that won't take effect till 24?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank God. Additional council comments? Mayor Pro Tem Chamberlain Cranka.
Thank you, Mayor. So the first thing I wanted to bring up, and I asked this in a previous, in our kind of weekly kind of Q&A questions that came up, is I want to say hats off to the DPW. There's a very large slab replacement project going on in the city. Dozens, was it 37? Maybe it's larger, Kurt, around the city. And we have a number of them in my neighborhood as well. And I know my neighbors had a couple of different questions, and I'm grateful to have had some updates on that. But just wanted to ask if there's any new updates around kind of what's, I know there was concern about cement at one point, and then I think it looks like some things have been able to move forward. So just wonder if there's any further updates on it.
Well, thank you. The construction industry has been impacted with the supply issues, and its main supply of concrete is cement. And the demand for cement this year exceeded the supply, so there was a shortage. Typically, our contractor would pour 1,500 cubic yards a day, so that's 150 cement trucks that would go throughout the city and pour those slabs back in. There was a time when the supplier cut them off completely, said, we can't give you any concrete today. They then reduced it to 200 cubic yards a day, and it's fluctuated between 150 to 300 cubic yards a day. Fortunately, we were able to pour all the local road slabs back in. There are some areas that we do a lot of sections in phases. So there's some areas that have some 6-inch wide trenches that they're going through and filling those areas with asphalt because the concrete transit mix companies are shutting down for the year. So those will be filled in with asphalt. So all the local roads will be essentially safe. There won't be any barricades out there for the winter time until spring. We have some industrial work being done on New King. New King, basically the road is all poured back in. We do have some driveway gaps that we'll be concentrating on. And as the temperatures get cooler, the contractor makes preparations by covering it with insulated blankets to make sure the integrity of the concrete isn't negatively impacted because of the cold temperatures. So we didn't get everything that we wanted done this fall, but fortunately everything will be safe for the winter months.
Thanks, Kurt.
Can I follow up? Sure. Yeah, thank you so much, Kurt, for all your work and just those questions with our neighbors. I really appreciate it. Little known fact, when it comes to cement and concrete, I'm actually very fascinated. During my research, I worked in a cement factory for my PhD actually near the western border of Ukraine. So I have lots of stories of being in a cement factory and seeing how concrete is made. But thank you for all that work. Also, I've got some cookies in the back to celebrate Michigan and also to celebrate the Stage Nature Center. And hats off to Councilmember Brooks for a great event. I couldn't make it. As many of you know, my mother had surgery recently, but I heard it was wonderful, and I know a lot of you all were able to be there. So wanted to celebrate our Nature Center and was trying to find other ways to support them from afar. So please have a cookie later if you're around.
I'm always available for cookies. Councilmember Hoderick?
Are you going to speak about Community Academy?
I am, but if you want to go ahead
No,
and
I'll
start.
let you do that. I wanted to just note something on the calendar that many folks in the community might be interested in attending, and that is with our Troy Police Department this Wednesday at 7 o'clock at Kensington Church. There will be an active shooter presentation provided by Officer Julian. Many folks in the community are familiar with him in our community policing, particularly in our schools. If you've not seen him present this, this is it's really worth your time. It's a topic that people don't want to think about, but the presentation empowers you on how to be prepared if you're ever in such a situation. Even if you've seen the presentation before or have seen similar presentations, perhaps at your workplace or elsewhere, it is a good idea to refresh your mind about what to do should you find yourself in such a situation. Part of the reason our community is safe is because we don't just rely on our police officers to keep us safe. We work together to keep one another safe and to understand what it takes from a fire perspective and protecting ourselves. So our own PD, as well as those police departments and communities all around us, including the Oakland County Sheriff's Department, they train and prepare on a continual basis about prevention, importantly, as well as how to respond. We saw that a year ago in Oxford as we watched that unfold. Our fire, our Alliance Mobile Health, our DPW, staff members, elected officials, we've had specialized training in addition to these, the type of training that will be, again, at Kensington Church, 7 o'clock Wednesday night. Knowing what each of us can do contributes to the collective effort of keeping one another safe, perhaps de-escalating things, and just empowering yourself if, heaven forbid, you're ever in such a situation. So make a note of that, and if you can, please carve out time. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Hoderick. Additional council comments? I have just a couple. You've all said most of the good things. I just want to briefly touch on the Nature Uncorked event that happened Friday before the election. So these aren't all my own thoughts. I've talked to a couple people about this, but it was a great event, and I was fascinated by the Friday before Election Day, how non-political it was, and how it was just a good mix of community people having a good time across all aisles and representations of people. And I want to thank the Nature Center for, actually I want to thank the people involved for helping support our Nature Center in a nice event, and just wanted to touch on how nice it was to have it not be political and have the people there really just supporting our Nature Center and coming together and having fun. So that was great. Before this evening's meeting, we, some of us, and we had the pleasure of mixing and mingling with our latest Community Academy graduates. The Community Academy is, although it has a new name, is not a new program to the city, formerly the Citizens Academy. We have Councilmember Brooks was, I think, the last graduating class of Citizens Academy in 2019 prior to the COVID, which shut it down for a while. But our Community Academy is an 8-week program that took 20 participants through all aspects of our city departments and our government, and we have one of them here this evening. She's out there nodding. She was so excited she stuck around for this exciting meeting. I will say, you watch this meeting, through our regular business, that was a perfect balance of exactly the stuff that we're doing, whether it's the fun project with the pavilion, to drainage issues and funds and police training, I mean, all kinds of things, right? Really, it was a good meeting for you to watch. But 20 of them graduated this evening after 8 weeks, and I said at the beginning of the course, and I said it again earlier this evening, all of them are now truly ambassadors of our city. They are out there with armed with knowledge and information about the inner workings of our departments, and my hope and I think the goal is to have them continue to use that information to help their friends and neighbors answer questions to make our city a better place, frankly, is how that works. And so I'm very thankful that we had a new class graduate tonight. I want to thank Stephanie and Meg, who are here, who did the heavy lifting this course, and it kept everyone organized and moving along well. And there actually was a letter in the reports this evening talking about, from one of the graduates, talking about the great job Stephanie did and how the program itself was so wonderful. So thank you to you here this evening, sticking through, but to all the 20 that graduated, really exciting that you had that opportunity, and you took the initiative to be part of our community even further. So thank you for that. Looking forward to it's back to being yearly, correct? So when it's time, you'll see social media applications going out for the next group, and really apply if you can. It's a great project. So that's all I have tonight. That concludes council comments. There's nobody signed up for public comment for items on or not on the agenda for members of the public outside of Troy. We do have a closed session, so I will recess from in here, and we'll pick back up in closed session.